Hello everyone, aktorsyl's podcast this week, and I've got sh4d0w11 with me, and I probably didn't say your name right.
No, that was fine.
sh4d0w11, there we go. So sh4d0w11 and I go way back. We've played some OCRP together, and we'll talk about that at some point as well, maybe at the end of the show. But we have obviously flown together for ages, and we thought, why not talk about flight sim in a podcast, and talk about something that we both like and that we both know very well. And so here we are. This week we're going to focus on flight sim.
Sounds good.
It's like we pretty much go off script this week. We're gonna start talking about some traffic patterns that we picked up on VATSIM. In fact, we just had a discussion about this yesterday, and with the whole coronavirus going around, and we all know coronavirus is here and everyone is panicky about it and weird. But so VATSIM obviously said, okay guys, you can't make fun of coronavirus, you can't have events going around it or whatever. And that's been going pretty well. Nobody's been doing that. However, now with everyone sort of being forced to stay at home, flights have picked up and we see a lot more traffic on the network.
Yeah, like yesterday when I was controlling in Frankfurt, we had like 100 people all of a sudden, and also some younger ones, which you wouldn't expect during the days. Like they should be at school, but they weren't. So.
Because the schools are closed.
Because the schools are closed, probably. I don't know.
Yeah, it's like, okay, Frankfurt's usually always a busy airport, but 100 is a whole new level.
I mean, I didn't count, but that's
what
I would say.
Roundabout-ish. And we picked up the same thing. Like, you know how quiet South African airspace and VATSIM is. Yep. It's dead. And even here, it's like our schools haven't closed yet, but it picked up. It's busy. No one's taking forced leave or anything, but everyone is. It's almost like they want to fly and just get their minds off of the whole media frenzy, media panic going on.
And I mean, honestly, that's a good thing, because now we have some traffic in VATSIM which we hadn't had before. And I mean, in real life, you would have way more traffic in South Africa than compared to what you have in VATSIM at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, okay, it's hard to say now with SAA dialing back their flights and probably going out of business, because just as they were sort of working on the recovery plan, coronavirus came. It was like, you're canceling flights. So I'm not sure what's going to happen there, but like, the Cape Town Joburg route is, I read somewhere, and I can't remember exactly what ranking it had, but it was one of the busiest city pairs in the world, because you've got 5 airlines flying that route dedicated, and that's all they do. And it's you don't see that in VATSIM at all.
Right. There's also like an issue I see now with the increase in traffic is that apparently the voice servers are not capable of handling that much traffic. Because yesterday our ATIS died half of the time, didn't work, and then the voice servers went down and up again, and then suddenly people couldn't log on anymore. I had to choose, like, I had to go to Singapore server or something to even be able to log on, because it always says too many people.
Yeah, it's just, you didn't by any chance manage to see what the total count of pilots on the network was?
No.
Yeah, because I know they did not a stress test, but I think it was just the weekend after launch or something. It had 1,800 pilots connected, and it was reasonably stable then. I know ATIS had an issue. Like, ATIS is the first thing to go when the servers get too busy.
Yeah, and then, I mean, we can still tell them what's going on, but it's kind of annoying to have to tell everyone, well, I don't know what's happened to the ATIS, because at least those users that don't control on a regular basis don't know that we are not responsible for the working ATIS.
Yeah.
And so they always blame you as the controller for not being able to set it up, and it's not your fault. But yeah.
Yeah, I've had to listen to quite a few pilot complaints about ATIS. It's like, guys, it's out of our control most of the time. But I don't know. It's I kind of see the challenge from VATSIM's point of view, because if you upgrade the servers to deal with that kind of load, but it's not always under that load, you're sort of sitting with money wasted there, or at least money sitting there doing nothing.
True.
So I'm not really sure how they're gonna really address that.
I mean, I guess they're working on it, and if we keep stressing the servers all the time, they might just increase the available load or something. I don't know. Hopefully.
Yeah, so I mean, as a public service announcement, guys, if you hear this podcast, go fly and bat some stress those servers. It's like, it needs all the traffic it can get right now.
Yeah.
Just don't listen to haters. No, it's we'll see how long it lasts. I mean, so I almost want to say, I don't know if this is directly tied to the corona thing. It might. Well, it certainly looks like it.
I wouldn't see any other reason at the moment.
Yeah.
It's not like there's a lot of holiday season or something.
Exactly. It's like people are off work. They're supposed to work remotely, but obviously they're not. You've got schools off, so I don't know. I don't. Like I said, when was it? I think it was in the last week's news video. That we might see a turnaround when summer obviously comes to the northern hemisphere, and it might get lighter. I don't know. I mean, okay, we're getting a little off topic still, but I don't know what kind of a difference summer is really going to make. I mean, yeah, if you look at Australia and you look at most of Africa and you look at South America, all of them do have corona, but it's not really spreading as fast at all. In fact, in South Africa, we haven't had a person-to-person transmission since the whole thing started. All of our cases are just from people coming in with it. I think Australia did have a few transmissions, and I think in South America as well. And in the rest of Africa, it's not happening. I mean, it's the WHO and everyone's on the ground, and they're checking for it, but it's not. They can't find it.
I mean, could also just be connected to how many people actually live close to each other. I don't know. In Australia, you have a lot of remote areas, and I mean, people-to-people transmission would not really work if they're just a kilometer or 2 miles apart.
No, I mean, absolutely, but I think Africa is really congested. South America even more so. So, I don't know. I think it might be better. Sorry?
We'll just have to see, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, that's...
There's nothing else we can do.
No, I mean, it's...
They stick to the rules of not...
Wash your hands.
It to each other. Like, wash your hands, yeah.
Don't wear masks.
Into other people's faces. Yeah.
Yeah, and please don't go and panic buy toilet paper. It's really just buy food, buy water. Don't buy toilet paper.
Yep.
It's like, this is not a stomach flu going around.
Unless you find a proper way to eat toilet paper. I mean, like invent new dishes.
Yeah, make a new MRE out of it.
Yep.
Okay, well, that was a nice topic diversion. But yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens. Honestly, I think a lot of it is also due to people being... I don't want to say too careful, because it's a good thing that there is no such thing as too careful, I guess. I do think a lot of the panic is unwarranted, but you know, that's just how human nature is.
I think it's a lot of it is related to people not understanding the severity.
Yeah,
it's like, especially when I look at the schools that are closing them in Germany now, the students just are happy because yay, holidays. They don't understand why. That's not kind of not the way to go, but
yeah.
If they stay at home, well, maybe. If they just meet up in private, then well,
yeah, I mean, okay, it's one thing you close all the schools and now everyone goes on play dates and it's like, oh, right.
Yep.
This is worse.
Meet online people.
Yes, kids, this is the time to not go play outside. Stay at home, log onto something like VATSIM, for instance. It's like, get us some traffic over there.
Parents are gonna hate us now.
Yes. If you're a parent, don't well, now we're done with it, so it's too late now. But all right. But yeah, I kind of want to jump back into the flight sim topics, and one thing that we also chatted about in the last week or two was the different Airbus products in P3D at the moment. Well, P3D and X-Plane, but mostly P3D, and just how they compare with each other. I mean, you and I both own the FS Labs A320,
Yep.
and I think we can agree it's good. It's pretty damn good.
It is, yes. If you have a machine that can handle it. But,
Yes. Yeah. It is. Yeah, it's pretty intense on performance, but it's really realistic. I own both the FS Labs and the Aerosoft Airbuses, and while the Aerosoft is certainly flyable and it's got shared cockpit and that actually works very well, it's not as realistic. And by realistic, I don't just mean failure simulation, because everyone's like, yeah, but the Aerosoft doesn't simulate flavors. What the hell? Failures. And yeah, it doesn't, but that's not all the FS Labs does. I mean, yeah, it's
Depth,
you'll know the
details.
systems exactly. Everything is there, and it's exactly how it works.
Yep. Not that I've ever flown a real Airbus, but I'd
Yeah.
say it feels kind of super realistic. And
Yeah.
the Aerosoft is just more arcadey, I'd say.
Yeah, definitely. I mean,
works.
because Arcadia is actually a good way to put it, because you can start the Aerosoft with half of your overhead off, and your APU is you can start the APU without the fuel pumps. In fact, you can start the engines without the fuel
You can
pumps.
start the engines without the fuel pumps. If
Yeah.
you're getting low on fuel, just deactivate the fuel pumps. It'll work.
It literally does. It's like- so
Well,
I
yeah.
mean, yeah, it flies. It gets you from A to B, and you can program your FMC, and that's great. But the FS Labs feels better. The sounds are better for me. Timings are more
Yep,
realistic.
Definitely.
Yeah. For instance,
And if you're
stupid.
doing something, you're doing something wrong, you will notice.
Yes. Yes, you will.
Because
It
the
punishes you.
aircraft will complain. Yes.
But a silly example I always use is when you turn on the APU. You turn it on and you press the start button. Obviously, you can't do that immediately. You have to turn it on and then wait a little bit for it to actually be powered on, and then you can start it. Which you don't really find even in the Tolus A319 on X-Plane. It also doesn't simulate that. You can click them at the same. You can click them the wrong way around even. But in FS Labs, they even went that deep, where you have to have the proper timings on the systems and on the buttons.
Now, what I also like is if you're on external power and then switch to the APU, and you'll just hear the circuit breakers click, which is
Yeah.
awesome. It's just
Yeah.
these tiny little details.
Yeah, no, I mean definitely. It's
Yeah.
also the AOC implementation that we started using recently with the Hoppy network. Oh, no, it's incredible. It's you just do your pre-departure clearance if the ATC controller does have it, which most of them now do. But it's not just that. I mean, the entire pre-flight is sort of part of the AOC. You can just do everything from boarding until you get your performance calculation, and everything's there. And if you've got GSX, as we've seen, it even integrates with that.
Yeah, it's it doesn't get much more realistic, I would say.
Yeah.
And they're still working on it, obviously, because as far as I know, the AOC doesn't work 100% on the A321, the newer one. But yeah, work in progress, and so far it's already awesome. So we'll see what happens or what comes next.
Yeah, I mean, it's for me, it's in P3. It's hard to say now with FS 2020 like literally around the corner, but for me at the moment, the FS Labs is the best option for an Airbus right now. X-Plane's Tolus is good, but it's not great. Even with
sorry.
Go ahead.
It really depends on what you want to have. Like if you just want to fly in an Airbus, then go ahead, get the Aerosoft. If you want a realistic version of it, like a real simulation, then FS Labs would be the way to go. I can't really talk about the tallest one. I guess it's closer to the FS Labs than it is to Aerosoft. But
Yeah, I would kind of put it in between.
Somewhere in the middle, yeah.
Yeah. And then the flight factor, I have to be honest, I don't know. I've not flown the flight factor one before. I hear it's pretty good, but if I take all of the good and all of the bad reviews from both that and the Tolas, they honestly seem to be kind of on par.
I've only seen that one in videos.
Yeah, but yeah,
Good.
we'll see what FS 2020 brings. I know they feature an A320 Neo, so they might start with an Airbus. It might not be study level, but it should at least be flyable.
Well, if it is study level, then yes, I'll get that one.
Definitely. But yeah, I mean, it's
where can I send my money?
Yeah. But the FS, I mean, okay, now I have to be honest. So I'm not an FS Labs fanboy by any means. I mean, they released the A319. There's no way I'm spending that kind of money just for an extra plane. But that's just me. I mean, other people might say, yeah, we want the smaller ones. Like, no, it's exactly the same plane, just smaller. So yeah, it's very subjective. I mean, other people might completely disagree with me and say, "No, you're crazy. I mean, why not have both?" And absolutely, if that's what you want to do, then it's up to you.
True. Now, I'd say if you get one of them, that's enough. You don't need all three.
Yeah. No, I agree. Another plane that I'm actually really fond of, and I've had it for a long time, but I've not flown it that often, is the Majestic Q400.
Yeah.
Which is actually really good.
It's true, yeah. So, basically the FS Labs for a dash.
Yeah.
I'd say.
Yeah, I mean, the simulation depth is quite amazing, and sometimes annoying, like with the gear pins, and you forget to take them out. You can't retract your gear.
Or if you get the random beeping noises and you don't know what's happening now.
Mm-hmm.
Then the aircraft complains about something else.
Yes. Also, the inconsistent landings. Like, it doesn't make sense, but you cannot lose speed at landing. And I know you're not supposed to actually put your throttles at flight idle, or at idle, I mean, whatever it's called. The moment it makes that siren beeping noise, that's too low because it actually turns the propellers, or it angles them differently. But if you don't do that, you don't slow down. It's like we've struggled. So obviously, it's just a case of practice. Like, we haven't flown it a lot yet.
Like 3 times, I think.
Yeah, but every time it's like, okay, we're hot, we're fast, we're high. I don't know what we're doing. In fact,
maybe we're just bad pilots.
Maybe that's it. In fact, let's just show the our last landing. We'll show you here quickly. It's actually quite scary. Why are we so fast?
Yeah, because I cannot go any lower.
Okay, now we're out of flight idle. Or in flight idle. Okay, it's looking good.
1,000.
We are wrestling it down again. The flight director tells me to force it way more down, even though we are now below the
No,
class.
yeah. Three red.
Flight slow. Flight slow.
Flight director
4 red.
is stupid.
Yeah, flight director is f***ing weird. We are ridiculously fast.
Yes.
Sink rate.
And then do the smoothest landing
Sink
ever.
Good.
Yeah.
Nice. So yeah, that was our landing when the last time we did this.
It was scary, but we managed.
Yeah. Well, I mean, but obviously it's like I said, it's practice. We just need to get better at it, but
Yeah.
it really punishes you if you're
Just
not.
good.
Just imagine you're in a real aircraft and the pilot says, "No, guys, it's fine. I've done this like at least 3 times."
Yep. Well, I mean, that's basically how it goes.
Yes,
I know I can do it, I just don't know what the aircraft wants at the moment. But we're still 2,000 feet above the ground, so we have some time.
we'll figure this out. Just bear with us.
Yeah,
Also, if we land, it might be hard, but that's normal.
that's how it's supposed to be.
Yeah. But I mean, I gotta say that the shared cockpit of the Q400 is actually great.
Yes, it is.
Feels really good. It's for me, it's even better than the. Well, okay, I wouldn't say it's better, but it's very much on par with the Aerosoft shared cockpit. You also, if you watch this on YouTube, you'll see in the top left of that video we just played, you can actually request and grant control of the flight controls to the other pilot, which makes it pretty damn realistic.
Yep. If you know what you're doing and not just clicking the buttons as we did for the first one.
Yeah, read the manual.
Hang on.
Don't just YOLO it.
I'd say if you want to get it, read the instructions for the shared cockpit, because that helps. At least if you want to understand what the buttons actually do, and what you can do as the pilot monitoring, for example, and what you can't do. And then,
Yes.
if you have a friend who wants to fly as well.
Yeah, I mean it's pretty perfect. Even if you want to learn how to fly it together, because that's pretty much what we did. We don't know a damn thing. We still don't know a damn thing, but it's...
But also the sounds of the aircraft are so amazing.
Yes.
Like, you'll actually have to speak louder if the engines are running, because you won't understand each other anymore.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the sound, that very unique propeller sound you get when the blades go into reverse, it's just fucking incredible.
Yep.
Right. But we did actually touch on, when we spoke about the A320s, we mentioned FS 2020, and I think that's also a thing that's sort of on everyone's mind at the moment, is when the FS 2020 is coming, and just how good is it? Is it really going to be as good as it looks? Like, it's too good to be true.
That's kind of what I fear, honestly.
Yeah.
Because we've had a lot of, not from Microsoft specifically, but a lot of game simulations and stuff that promised way more than they could actually do in the end.
Yes. See, the thing is, what I was mostly worried about is that areas that are not massively big or massively popular, in my case, like almost the entire South African airspace, is just not going to look good.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we did get a preview the other day of Cape Town. Not the entire Cape Town. It was a shot taken from a plane looking towards Chapman's Peak, which is on Table Mountain, and it looked good. I mean, it looked like very high quality X-plane ortho, which is, sort of what you'd expect. What I'd really like to have seen though was what the city looks like, and more importantly, what the airport looks like, because those are dynamically generated. Well, okay, they say people actually edit it, but are they editing all of them, and how much time are they spending on each one? That's what we don't know yet.
Oh. I mean, if they're actually auto-generated from like real life photographs or something, then at least you can expect that all the airports look at least halfway to what they're supposed to look like, not like standard scenery in FSX and P3D, which is just like how they looked in 2006-ish.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's at least in terms of layout. Like, okay, now what ortho scenery can tell you is that there is a building there and it's this shape, but what it looks like from a side view and what it looks like in 3D space, the question is really whether they're going to at least sort of make it look the same. Honestly, I'd be happy if it even looks almost like it. Like, I'd be fine with that.
If I recognize the airport when I'm just standing there without having bought an extra add-on, I'm happy with it, even though if it doesn't look exactly how it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
But take Frankfurt, for example. If you're using with even with X-Plane, I think, and P3D at the moment, if you're using standard scenery, you're nowhere close to how it's supposed to look. Like, the ground layout is completely off. Even the positions are not right, and and there are runways missing and stuff like that. So
you see, the main thing for me is if you don't have payware scenery in P3D, you cannot fly online. You just can't, because they're going to give you taxi instructions which you cannot follow.
I mean, you can still take the charts, but it just doesn't feel right, if you ask me.
Yeah, because I mean, you're going to go off road and sort of hope where the taxiway is on everyone else's screen, and
Yep.
it's just and apart from that, your own experience sucks because it looks terrible. You'd think the bigger airports in default scenery would look good, but it doesn't. It doesn't. At least the default mega airports, if I can call it that, in 2020 looks amazing because they get extra special attention. So, I mean, failing everything, at least is that.
I just if I get FS 2020, I want to be able to fly maybe to an airport that I don't have bought and still get there in one piece basically, and have it look at least fairly decent.
Yeah, still get that payware experience basically. Yeah. Yeah, I mean they seem to be doing everything right in terms of that. What I don't know, and I don't think anyone really knows, is the exact detail of how much processing power and how much bandwidth it's going to take to make it look that good. Because there is so many NDAs still in place that people can't really say, this is my frame rate on this gear. They can't share that kind of information. And
Right.
yeah, it makes it hard to say, okay, do I need a new PC for this? Do I need to plan for a new PC? Can I use this on a 4 megabit ADSL link because that's all I have? That kind of information we don't have yet. What they did tell us though was that there is a way to obviously go to lower graphics, obviously, but also a way to make to cache the graphics offline, which is fine if you're planning on flying VFR in a small area. But if you want to do a flight from London to New York, no.
Well, there's a whole lot of water in between. So.
Okay, okay, bad example. If you want to fly from New York to LA,
Yes.
you're going to need probably terabytes of space just to cache that. So I'm not sure how that's going to work yet.
Pack your basement with hard disks.
Well, if you're going to do that, then you might as well just get a better connection.
Yes.
If you're going to spend money, I mean.
Sure.
But yeah,
that's what
I think
I'm kind of fearing as well. That either you need a very good connection or a lot of storage space. And
yeah. So the way they explained it during one of the interviews, I can't remember whose question it was. It was also a known YouTuber. Was that the data is sort of encoded and then it gets decoded on client side, so the actual bandwidth usage is not that much. Now, not that much, however, as my problem is it's a very relative term.
yeah,
It's like
look at the last Call of Duty. It's not that much stuff to download, and it's still 100 and I don't know 30, 40 gigs.
mm-hmm.
I mean,
Same
that's
with-
obviously due to textures being with 4K resolution today, which is standard, and
Yeah.
that takes some space. But if I need to download things for a week or two just to be able to play it, then no.
Yeah, I mean, it's if you can't stream the data, then it's gonna be tricky. But let's just suppose, or let's assume that all of that is fine. It's low data streaming. You don't need a massive powerhouse for it to look good. Default airports look at least acceptable. What a lot of people commented on was that it's going to kill X-Plane and P3D, and what I told them, and I might be wrong obviously, is yeah, but it's not going to do it immediately because they still have payware planes on P3D that's not going to be on FS 2020 from day one, and they still want to fly those planes.
Yeah.
I think it's going to make a massive dent in it, absolutely. Especially for X-Plane, because X-Plane's really big pull was the fact that the flight dynamics were very realistic, at least compared to P3D. And I have to agree, it is. And the fact that you can add ortho without completely making it look strange. Like P3D, you can do ortho for it, it looks silly. And immediately, you've got that in FS 2020. So I think immediately maybe you'll see an effect. I think a year down the line, though, I don't know what those two companies are going to do to compete. Well, Lockheed doesn't really need to. I mean, because that's not their primary business,
Yeah,
like at all. It's,
True.
and
And P3D was never supposed to be like a simulation for home computers.
Yeah, exactly. It was never supposed to be consumer grade.
But yeah, X-Plane might see drop. But it really depends on what people want, and I don't think, as you said, that you'd have as many aircraft available in FS 2020 from the get-go. So unless they reach that level of availability of different aircraft, so everyone can fly whatever they want to, obviously P3D and X-Plane will stay.
Irrelevant.
Yeah.
I think what we'll also see is if the ortho quality looks good even when you're at low altitude, I think we're going to see an increase in VFR flights as well.
Sure.
Because VFR and P3D just, it doesn't look good, and in X-Plane it looks good up till a certain point. So the thing with X-Plane ortho is it looks amazing from a high altitude, but the zoom level you need for it to look good at low altitude makes it almost not feasible to download all of that. And if Microsoft can sort of slide in and into that sweet spot where it's okay, it looks good from a low altitude as well as high up at flight level 370, they're gonna corner both markets. I mean, they're gonna get IFR, they're gonna get VFR, long haul, everything.
We'll just have to see. I'll wait and see.
Yeah.
Because unless we can actually talk about stuff that we see, we won't know.
That's the big thing. From what I've seen, it might move into a closed beta soon. Now, soon obviously is also relative, but
well,
it's
still called FS 2020. So
I was about to say that's
within the next 9 months.
Exactly. I was about to say the name is still FS 2020. Even Microsoft is calling it that now because the name was sort of stuck. So they sort of have to release it this year.
Yeah.
But from what I've seen, I mean, I don't want to say it looks like an almost finished product because I haven't seen enough to make that call. The weather looks absolutely incredible to me. The dynamic clouds look... Well, okay, personally I have a bit of an issue with the clouds. They look all soft, if you know what I mean. I mean, it's like a cumulus does not look like a fluffy ball of wool.
Well, it may look like that from a distance, but if you're getting close, nope, it's a big nope.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's, we'll have to see. I mean, it's still under development, so maybe clouds will look better soon. The clouds absolutely look better than X-Plane, hands down. Doesn't matter if you use plugins or X-Enviro or whatever, it still looks better than X-Plane. P3D maybe. Active Sky and any of the X products really can make the clouds look actually pretty damn good. Obviously though they're not dynamic, so for me that's where FS 2020 sort of wins.
Yeah, but then again that might also cost a lot of processing power unless they're also streamed, and then we have even more data that needs to be downloaded all the time.
It might. It depends. It depends how they do it, because I saw a time lapse, and the time lapse was from the ground angling up at about 30 degrees, I think, and it showed the clouds move. But I mean, if you've got a wind direction and a wind strength at a certain flight level, and the clouds at that flight level, theoretically it shouldn't be that hard to make the cloud move. What would be interesting is how a thunderstorm develops, for instance. Like, will you have cumulus clouds coming together and then build a cumulonimbus and make a funnel, and an anvil, I mean. Because I agree with you there, that probably would take some processing.
We'll just actually, I guess, just have to wait until we get more information about that problem.
Yeah, it's very hard to make technical predictions when people are under NDA and they can't even give us a hint. But hopefully that changes soon. I mean, it would be nice to see something happen there. Moving on from FS 2020, we actually had a quick discussion just before we started the podcast about the airport tweaking for better performance.
Right.
Now, I personally haven't done that, but I think let's hear about your experience.
No, it's just there are hundreds of videos out there that tell you what to do and what not to do, and I just thought, well, I might just try it. And if you understand what the settings do, like obviously you'll have to just read through the config files and not just use the tools that P3D has available. For example, like the graphic settings in game or within the simulation don't really do everything that you can do. But if you know what the lines and the config say, and you just tweak and those, you can actually, as I have now noticed, get a lot of FPS through just changing values. For example, it just randomly fixes the value of how much textures will be loaded into the graphics RAM. And it doesn't give you the chance to change that, and apparently it doesn't even isn't affected by whatever graphics card you're using. It just fixed to, I believe, the value is 16. I don't even know what the value does, but I just increased it to 120 as one of the videos suggested, and now my textures are just loaded in way before I actually get to a place. And if you have a lot of graphics RAM available, then obviously you can do that.
Oh, you mean that blurry texture issue? It solves that?
Yep. For example, and also if you're using, if you're flying in VATSIM and you just take a look at other aircraft, like if they're in the distance, you'll usually have like black textures that then just load in, and this is entirely gone. Like they're just there because it just loads the textures even though if you can't see them. Like if they're 90 miles away, it will just load them in and just have them available in case you want to see them. And it doesn't clog up anything of your actual processing power because it's in the GPU.
Okay, that's good.
And since I have one with like I think 12 gigs of RAM, it just works. And then they said you have to just reduce the dynamic reflections, which you can do actually within the simulation. And that gives you like an immediate increase of like 10 frames per second just by dropping it down by one notch. So. And you don't really see much of a difference anyway. So, and if you get 10 frames more, then obviously that's, I'd say, a good solution.
That's 10 frames, yeah.
Yep. And so obviously just follow those videos and try it for yourself and play around with the settings. And even if you don't understand what they actually do, like there's one thing it says like use true global word thingies, whatever. It's just set to false and it doesn't explain what it does, and you can't change it to true unless you actually type in true. And I typed that in and it even gave me 5 more frames. So without knowing what it does, it works.
What can you remember what the setting was called?
Let me find it real quick.
But yeah, I mean that seems like a pretty impressive collection of tweaks. Obviously, there are many different tweaks, and all of them has downsides. But it sounds like you've got the best balance of the least, or at least the tweaks with the least cons, if I can put it like that.
Yeah, it's just, as I said, just watch the videos and then try stuff out for yourself. If it doesn't work, then you can just revert it back to what it was. But I wouldn't have imagined that it actually helps you get more frames, but it does, and it doesn't look worse. It even looks better. Like the graphics are more crisp now. And it says use global terrain view. It's set to false by standard. It's within the prepared 3D config file under terrain.
Oh, that one, okay.
There is no way that you can change it within the simulation, but you can just set it to true, and I don't know what it does, but it works.
Yeah,
I've not seen any difference, but...
But you see a consistent frame rate increase.
Yep.
Yeah, I think what we can also do, I mean, if people are interested, then just let us know, and then what we can do is we can publish
show you a comparison, maybe, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So,
yep.
Like a before and after, and a list of all the tweaks that resulted in that. I think it's also important people do their own research, of course, but if there's interest for I almost want to say a tweak compilation of tested tweaks, then Yeah, by all means, let us know, and we'll make a plan for you.
Of course.
Yeah, I have to say I've not tried this myself. I also want to give these a try, at least these specific ones, because I've looked through the list and they look pretty promising. And some of them are just weird. It's like you should be able to set this in the options, but you can't. There's no way.
Yep. And I really don't know why. Like, and that's what I was saying earlier with the textures that are loaded into the graphics card. I don't know why it's fixed to one value and you can't change that.
Yeah.
Even though apparently by increasing it like 8-fold or 9-fold, it's getting much better and it doesn't have any impact on your processing power. So obviously the potential was there, it's just not used.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that is sort of like remnants from FSX or even from FS9
Yep.
when computers just were limited. But to be honest, even then it was a stupid design decision to hard code any kind of limit.
Yep. I
Alright,
mean,
so
if the potential is there, like if the program can handle more stuff, why can you not just have that inside of the settings? Why is it fixed to one value and this value is there? I mean, you don't need it if it doesn't have any effect, and if it has any effect, why can't you not control it? Like,
exactly, yeah. Yeah, no, I mean that sort of control needs to, even if it's under advanced, super advanced expert settings, hidden away somewhere in the options, but it needs to be somewhere.
But yeah, so everyone is able to use YouTube, and there's a lot of, as I said, videos out there, and probably we can make one as well, and just try it for yourself.
Yeah, no, I think we absolutely can. But even if we make a compilation video with a tweak guide, again, just bear in mind this is not going to work for everyone. It's not going to work the same way for everyone. You need to tweak for yourself as well.
Yeah, obviously it's always dependent on your own specs. Like we have different settings for our PC, and you and me have tried setting it to the same stuff, and we've had different results. So, yeah.
Yes, yeah, and I mean our PCs aren't even all that different.
No,
yours is AMD and mine is NVIDIA, but that's apart from the fact that the brands differ, our specs are pretty much the same, and the same tweaks do not work for both of us.
Yep. So yeah, just try fiddling around. Always obviously make copies of the original files in case you break something, as I did 2 days ago.
Yes, yes, definitely do that. My top tip for the day, because this happened to me, if you're like me and you put all of your purchased payware, whether it's airports or planes or whatever, each in its own folder, and in the folder you put the text file with your license details, make sure you back up those files.
Or
what I've done...
never delete your emails. That's what I do.
That.
I have all my keys available.
But sometimes they don't always email it to you. That's just on
true.
You get a PayPal receipt, but your key is not in there. So what I've done now is I've actually got a bat file which copies all the TXT files in that folder structure to another one, and I think I'm using Google. Yeah, I'm using Google Drive to again back up that. It's like I'm never letting this happen to me again, because it did, and it took me more than a week just to get serial numbers for stuff. It was bad, and I had to email PMDG as well. It's like, guys, so all of those products I bought from you, I need all of their keys. It's like, what did you do? Yeah. Speaking of PMDG, so they released the 737-800 NGXU.
Yep.
For P3D, and in doing so, I believe they gave you $100 voucher for their 737 product for FS 2020, which is why I took the deal, because I mean I wanted the better 738 for P3D while I wait, and I mean okay, I have to say it's very good. Is it $140 good or what? I can't remember what it cost. 120, 140, I don't know. It was somewhere around there. Is it that good? No. Honestly, no, it's not. It's maybe $100 at the most is where I would value it. again, that's a subjective personal opinion, but still. But what I don't agree with is the fact that they now released the 600, 700 variant of the NGXU. And I mean, what PMDG loves to do is to release these add-ons, they call them, for a lot of money, but the changes are not that big. I mean, it's what Aerosoft would charge for a full package is what a company like PMDG would charge for another variant of the same plane. But with that, we are actually out of time for this particular podcast. Like I said, let us know if you want to get any links to any videos of tweak compilations. And if you have suggestions, requests for anything we need to discuss during the next one, let us know. We'd be happy to hear from you.
Yep.
See you all. I don't know if we would exactly be doing the Flightsim one weekly. There would be a weekly podcast, but we'll have to see just how often the actual Flightsim one is.
Yep.
So yeah, but yeah, take care, and we'll see you when we see you, which will be I would say either next week or the week thereafter. It wouldn't be later than that.
Sounds good.
Yep. All right. See you later.
Bye.